What is going on, everybody? Welcome on into week number 4 and welcome on into this week's Fantasy Football Start Sit Q&A. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberfire.com. And as you can see, JJ Zacharyson having internet issues. They will not get to his house until Monday. So I'm filling in for today to answer your start sit questions leading in to week number 4. So let's start things off with Corey here asking to pick two between Chuba Hubbard, Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, and Trey Sermon. To me, I want Chuba and Zach Moss there. Corey also asking to pick two between Robert Woods, Cortland Sutton, Antonio Brown, Michael Pittman, Manny Sanders, and Peyton Barber. There, I would go with Cortland Sutton for the target share and then go with Pittman for the same reason. Tony is asking to pick 1.5 PPR between Saquon Barkley, Terry McLaurin, and Odell Beckham. Actually, they're all pretty good options there. I'd probably lean towards Odell just because that game is so good and his target share was good last week. So they're good options, Tony, but I would take Odell there. Tyson Williams, AJ Dillon, or JD McKissick. I would go with Tyson Williams. I know Lev being up does make things pretty scary, but McKissick's role is not one that's super fantasy friendly. Let's talk to Raymond. In PPR, pick 2 out of 3 from Sermon, Emmanuel Sanders, and Tim Patrick. There, I would probably wind up going with Emmanuel Sanders and Trey Sermon by a hair over Patrick. Patrick, tough matchup. I'm not really sure what that offense will do for today, so we'll go with the guys with some steady rolls there. Let's talk to Irish over on YouTube. Fournette or Hunt? I would go with Leonard Fournette. No Giovanni Bernard should bump him up this week. Kevin, half PPR. Need one between Gaskin, Pollard, or Tyson Williams. Leaning Gaskin. I would go with Gaskin there as well. Pollard is tempting, but the role has not been super steady. And one at wide receiver for Kevin between Pittman, Rondale Moore, Jacoby Myers. I would go with Pittman there. The target share, very good. Offense, not great, but I think the target share is good enough. Let's talk to Antoine. Need one or a half PPR. A wide receiver, Ayuk, Davis, or Hunter Renfrow. I like Ayuk and Davis this week. I would go Davis because the target share is pretty steady. Much better matchup this week. Half PPR, KJ Osborne, Terrace Marshall, Van Jefferson, or Bryan Edwards. I would go with Bryan Edwards there. It is the Monday night game, so it's, you have to wait on that for sure. But I think that he's got a decent role. It's been a lot of overtime production, but I do still like him there. Amari Cooper or Cortland Sutton in PPR. There, I would go with Amari Cooper, just like that game more indoors as well. Trey Sermon or Emmanuel Sanders, leaning towards Emmanuel Sanders there due to the offense he's in, and Sermon just not getting the kind of targets or the kind of work that we want. Michael Pittman or Emmanuel Sanders, I would go with Pittman there for the workload. Westbrook Akine, Rondale Moore, Hunter Renfrow. I would probably go with Hunter Renfrow there. Really solid target share for the Raiders. Miles Sanders or Antonio Brown. Pretty tough one there. I'd probably go, because it's full PPR, I'd go with Antonio Brown. Worried about that Philly offense, given the offensive line injuries. Half PPR or non-PPR flex, let's go with Allen Robinson or Miles Sanders. I'd probably go with Allen Robinson there as well. Actually, let's go Miles Sanders due to the concerns around the Chicago Bears offense. Trey Sermon or Michael Pittman, I would go with Michael Pittman there. Full PPR to start 2 out of CeeDee Lamb, Debo, and Tyler Lockett. Dak is super flex, so I think I want Lamb in there. Do I bench Debo or bench Lockett since he's banged up? I agree with putting Lamb in there. I would probably go Debo for the reasons you mentioned, and Debo's role is good as well. Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, I would go Russ. That game is pretty attractive, and Russ has been good. I know that Rodgers has been too, but I like Russ' situation for today. Allen Robinson, Mike Davis, or Trey Sermon, I would go with Allen Robinson there. Better matchup should help him quite a bit. In PPR, Michael Carter, Tyson Williams, or JD McKissick. I would go with Tyson Williams. I know, again, it's really scary, but he still played a lot of snaps last week. So I would go with him over those two guys. In full PPR, Sony Michel, Myles Gaskin, Tony Pollard, or Kenneth Gainwell. I would go with Myles Gaskin there. Just too many concerns on the workload for the other guys. Need one, a wide receiver and a flex in PPR. Manny, Henderson, Galladay, Robbie Anderson, or Cole Beasley. I would go Manny for sure. And then I'd probably go, I know it's a double dipping in the same offense, but Cole Beasley, just because that offense should still pass quite a bit despite the positive script. Talking to Corey, pick 2 in non-PPR, Chuba Hubbard, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, or Trey Sermon. Chuba and then Zach Moss. I think that Moss's role is going to be pretty good for this week. I want to go with Odell, Cortland Sutton, or Tyler Lockett. Already starting Jefferson and Keenan Allen. I would go with Odell. I like him a lot this week. Let's go with Odell. Let's talk to Justin. Corey Davis or Chase Edmonds? I think that I want Corey Davis there by a pretty significant margin. Richard, Trey Sermon or Tony Pollard in PPR? I would go with Trey Sermon. I have concerns around him for sure, but Pollard's role is just pretty volatile, so I'll go Trey Sermon there. In PPR, pick one running back. Cordero Patterson, Peyton Barber, or Tony Pollard? Might actually go with Cordero Patterson there. He's had a pretty decent role. He's been getting some red zone work too, so we'll go with Cordero there. Pick two in non-PPR, Robert Woods, Sutton, Pittman, Antonio, Emmanuel Sanders, and Peyton Barber. There, I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton for the workload and go with Michael Pittman for the same reason. Trey Sermon or Javonte Williams? I know Melvin's banged up, but I'd still go with Trey Sermon there, hoping the role gets a bit better than it was last week. Not counting on it, but I think there's at least some upside there. Happy PPR. Corey Davis or Hunter Renfrow? I'm thinking Renfrow gets more targets against the Chargers defense. I would go Corey Davis. It's a much better matchup. Also, revenge game. Got to go with that for sure. So I think I'll go with Corey Davis there. Talking to Michael, pick 2 out of 4 in 0.25 PPR. Cordero Patterson, Allen Robinson, Trey Sermon, or Emmanuel Sanders. I'm going to go with... That's a tough one there. I would go with... Man, that's a tough one. Really tough. I would go with Emmanuel Sanders and... Man, I don't even know. I would go with Emmanuel Sanders and Cordero Patterson there. PPR bench one between Pittman, Devontae Smith, and Sermon. I would take the receivers there and bench Sermon. CH, okay to roll with Lockett there, too risky. I would definitely roll with him. He got a full practice on Friday. That upped my confidence in Lockett quite a bit. So I would say totally okay there. Don't forget to hit the sub button on the latest FanDuel content. That's a bot. I don't know why I clicked on that one. David, Davis or Pittman in full PPR? I would go with Corey Davis just by a hair. They're both pretty good options for today, though. Lost McCaffrey and James White. Waiver wire was bare. Need one for half PPR between Kenyon Drake, Kyle Juszczyk, Latavius Murray, J.J. Taylor, Ramondre Stevenson. I would probably go with Drake there just because I feel better about him getting targets in that offense. Targets pretty valuable. Chase Edmonds, Allen Robinson, or Antonio Brown. I would go with Antonio Brown there. Chuba Hubbard and Melvin Gordon. Chuba for sure. Rojo, or Kyle Juszczyk in standard. Oh boy. I think with Geo inactive, I think you can go with Ronald Jones for tonight and cross your fingers. Cameron Brate or Dawson Knox, I would go with Dawson Knox there. We do get a bump up for Brate with no Gronk, but I'd still go Knox. In PPR, would you start Kareem Hunt, Emmanuel Sanders, or Cordero Patterson, Emmanuel Sanders? Deontay Johnson or Michael Pittman? Deontay coming off the injury. Not a great offense. I know it's not a great offense for Pittman either. I go with Pittman, though. Full PPR between Jacoby Myers, Jamal Williams, Brandon Ayuk, or Melvin Gordon. I feel pretty good about Ayuk this week. Ran a lot of routes last week, got 3 red zone targets, so I'll go with him. Pick one between Trey Sermon or Allen Lazard. There I will go with Trey Sermon. I still have concerns, but even with MVS out, I still feel better about him than Lazard. Half PPR, pick 2 between Sermon, Emmanuel Sanders, Corey Davis, and Robert Woods. Let's go with Manny and Woods. Well, Manny and Davis, let's say. Might put them above Woods for today. Tannehill or Baker? Let's go Baker. I love that game. Tannehill gets a major downgrade with all the injuries. So let's go Baker there. Pick 2 in PPR between Nyheim Hines, Devin Singletary, or Will Fuller. So it could be a negative script for the Colts. So I think that means we go with Hines and Will Fuller for today. Just Devin Singletary's role is pretty hollow. Case, Calvin Ridley or Terry McLaurin for FanDuel. So I think it's a good bounce back spot for Ridley, but like McLaurin's had a better role and his quarterback seems more willing to go down the field. So I actually might go McLaurin there. Full PPR, Nyheim Hines or Javonte Williams. I would go Javonte there. Melvin is banged up. I think that's enough leeway to get you to go with Javonte there. Devontae Smith, Deontay Johnson, and Tyler Lockett pick 2. I would bench Deontay there, go with Devontae and Lockett. Actually, let's go Lockett and Deontay there. Just steadier rolls. Concerned about Philly offense in general. Half PPR flex between Corey Davis, Chase Edmonds, or Jalen Waddle. I would go with Corey Davis there. For defense, would you go Rams, Bears, Packers, or Dolphins? Bears facing the Lions, Packers facing the Steelers, Dolphins facing the Colts. Either the Packers or the Dolphins, both pretty good there. I would lean towards the Packers personally. Russell Wilson or Jalen Hurts? I like both. I'd probably go with Russ, but I think both are fine. I think that given the offensive line injury, you can downgrade Hurts enough to put Russ in there for sure. Michael Pittman or Waddle, I would go with Pittman there because the target share is very good. Heineke versus Atlanta, good player, no. I think he's someone you can use if you need to. For DFS, I am not going there personally because I want guys who have more upside. I'm not sure that's really Heineke's thing. But for season long, if you need like a QB2 in a super flex league, he can be okay. Busta, hello. Looking for a defensive streamer. Kansas City against Philadelphia, Washington against Atlanta, or Green Bay versus Pittsburgh. They're all in play. I would go with Green Bay there. I think that the Kansas City defense is good for DFS because their salary is low, but Green Bay at home, decently favored, pretty immobile quarterback, a lot of pass attempts. That's good for them there. Let's talk to Artie, favorite low-salaried running back. So it's Chuba Hubbard at $6,300 because I just think the role will be good there. I like that game a lot. I've been trying to find guys with lower salaries I can tolerate. I have talked myself into some Zach Moss and sprinkles of Trey Sermon, but I don't feel good about it. So if you're looking for someone below that, I know that there will be some guys who get talked up, but they're not going to be for me. I'd prefer to live in that Hubbard and above range. Emmanuel Sanders, Devontae Smith, or Cordero Patterson, Manny. Kyler Murray or Ryan Tannehill, Kyler by a mile. I know the matchup is really tough there, but like it's Kyler. So let's go with Kyler there. Cortland Sutton or Tim Patrick in full PPR. I love Sutton. Sutton's role is pretty good. Should be pretty good. Despite the matchup, I'm still going to go Cortland Sutton. They're actually the same matchup, so that actually doesn't matter in that instance. Okay, Tannehill or Darnold. I would go with Darnold there. Emmanuel Sanders or Trey Sermon. Let's go with Manny. Jalen Hurts or Justin Herbert? Justin Herbert. I'm going to downgrade Hurts a decent amount with that offensive line banged up. Tannehill or Carr? I would also go with Carr there. Tougher matchup for him, but I would still go with Derek Carr. Talk to Richie. Sutton or Javonte Williams? I would go with Sutton there. In PPR, Pollard or Juszczyk? I would go with Tony Pollard. Juszczyk's interesting at least, but I go Tony Pollard. Russell, you've already asked that one. Okay. Vishnu, do we go with Leonard Fournette, Tyler Lockett, Deontay Johnson, or Robert Woods? For picking two, I would go with Lockett first, and then I would go with Deontay versus Woods. We'll go with Deontay for the target share. In full PPR, do I sit Lockett or Debo? Oh, answered that one before. Emmanuel Sanders or Trey Sermon, going with Manny there. Full PPR, Darrell Henderson, Kenneth Gainwell, or Westbrook Akine. I would go, it's kind of risky to go with Darrell Henderson, but I would do it. I think that the upside there is good enough to justify it. Waddell or Melvin Gordon in full PPR, I would go Waddell there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Darrell Henderson, I would go with CEH. Brait or Gesicki? Gesicki, 12 targets last week, so I'll go with Gesicki there. Ted is asking Trey Sermon or Chase Edmonds. I think you can go with Trey Sermon there. Better chances for a touchdown. He lost a lot of work in the red zone, a lot of third down work, but I still think the upside is better for him there. Emmanuel Sanders, Devontae Smith, or Cordero Patterson. We're going with Manny there. Deontay Johnson or Marquise Brown in standard. Good question. I'll go with Deontay Johnson, given the matchup that Marquise Brown has, and concerns about. I know with no Bateman back yet, we still feel good about him, but still some concerns there. Miles Sanders or Peyton Barber? Let's go with Miles Sanders, given the concerns that Jacobs may be good to go. What did Cal have for breakfast? Don't know. Great question. Cal, let us know. Michael, pick one in PPR, Logan Thomas or Christian Kirk? I will go Christian Kirk there. He's probably going to see a lot of Jalen Ramsey, but still feel good about that one. Adam Thielen, Tyler Lockett, Devontae Smith, or Darrell Henderson. If I'm picking one, I will go with Lockett despite the injury. Kareem Hunt in cash games. No, I would not. He loses too much work to Nick Chubb when it matters. So I think in that range, you're looking more at Chuba Hubbard for sure. Devontae Smith or Michael Pittman in PPR. Let's go Michael Pittman there. Top quarterback in daily fantasy for today. There are actually four guys I like. Those guys are Russ, Dak, Kyler, and Mahomes. If you force me to pick one and we're looking for like upside, I'd probably go Kyler, but I think that all four of those guys are really good options for today. Woods or Antonio Brown in full PPR? I would go with Woods is tough to figure out, man. I would probably go let's go with Robert Woods there. What are your locks for cash? I think that the first guy I go to is Chuba Hubbard. I want the salary that he's got, the role that he likely will have for today. Chuba Hubbard's the first guy I'm looking to there. Heineke or Bridgewater? Interesting question. I go Heineke there. I think that's the tipping point I get to with Heineke. Half PPR, Jonathan Taylor or Tyler Lockett. I would go with Lockett there. Tannehill or Justin Fields, my quarterback. I know not great options. They're not the worst, though. I would say Justin Fields. Let's shoot for the upside. Let's have some fun and see what happens with Bill Lazor calling plays for today. Darrell Henderson or Trey Sermon. I think with the ambiguity around what Henderson's role will be, I will go with Trey Sermon there. Darnell Mooney or Marquez Callaway in full PPR. I would go with Mooney there. The Saints just aren't throwing enough for me to feel good about Callaway right now. J.D. McKissic or use check because Antonio Gibson is banged up. I would go with McKissic there. Chuba Hubbard or Antonio Brown or Deontay Johnson or Allen Robinson in full PPR. Chuba of that group for me. Stafford or Lamar in PPR. I would still go Lamar because I know the injury is scary and I know the matchup is scary, but it's Lamar. Really tough for me to go no there. Kevin, AJ Green or Devontae Parker? I would go with AJ Green there. He's actually had a decent role for Arizona, and I like that game a lot, so I'll go there. Kareem Hunt or Robert Woods in half PPR? I'd go Woods there. Zerline or Carlson, challenging your kicker mind. Oh boy, I don't play any leagues with kickers anymore outside of the Scott Fish Bowl. Let's go with Greg the Leg. Corey, pick 2 in non-PPR. Calvin Ridley, Terry McLaurin, Odell Beckham. Yes, I like all of them, Corey. If I had to pick, I would go McLaurin and Odell, but I like all of them. Flex flyer between Deshaun Jackson, one of the Tennessee guys, Brian Edwards, Gainwell, or Michelle. I would go with Edwards above Westbrook Akine for me personally. In PPR, Pollard or Carter, I would go with Pollard there. Full PPR pick 2 between Devontae Smith, Corey Davis, Robert Woods, and Naheem Hines. I would go with Corey Davis, and I would go with Robert Woods. Talk to Cameron. Peyton Barber or Kenyon Drake if Jacob sits? Barber. They've shown a lot of faith in him, and he matches up pretty well with that defense for the Chargers. Tannehill or Fields? I would go with Fields for the first one. Darnold and Cousins available. I would rank them Cousins, Darnold, Fields, Tannehill. Pittman or CEH in half PPR? I would go with CEH there. Cordell Patterson or Damian Harris in half PPR? I don't know, man. Damian Harris's role has been kind of weird, facing the Bucs, not a team you want to run against. Let's go Cordero. Why not? Sermon or Edmonds in half PPR? Sermon by a hair. Hooper or Ertz in PPR? I would go with Austin Hooper. He rotates a lot with Njoku and Bryant, but I still feel better about him overall. Lamar or Carr? I would go with Lamar there. McKissic or Devontae Parker? There I'd go with Devontae Parker. Manny or Zach Moss? Question. I'll go with Emmanuel Sanders, feel better about his role overall, but Zach Moss, very interesting in that one there. Half PPR, Devontae Smith or Emmanuel Sanders in the flex? I would go with Manny. Standard score, and who would I play at flex? Cordero, Devontae Smith, James Conner, or Latavius Murray. If it is just one person, I would go with Devontae Smith there. Sermon or Rondale Moore? I feel better about Sermon being on the field, so I'd go with Sermon there. Woods, Jacoby Myers, or Michael Pittman in full PPR? I would go with Pittman there. Allen Robinson, Corey Davis, or Pittman in half PPR? I would go with Corey Davis there. Edmonds, Javonte Williams, or Myles Gaskin? I think that situation where you can go with Javonte Williams because I think that there's more upside in his role than there is with Edmonds. I like Edmonds a decent amount, but just no touchdowns there. Pick 2 in PPR between Kenny Golladay, Michael Pittman, or Chase Edmonds. I would go with Michael Pittman and Chase Edmonds because it's PPR. Just don't have a lot of faith in that Giants offense for today. Robert Woods or Christian Kirk? Give me Woods there. Half PPR, Deontay Johnson or Tyler Lockett? I would go Lockett. Allen Robinson, Sutton, or Cooks? I would go with Cortland Sutton. Start 2 in full PPR. Let's Allen Robinson, Kareem Hunt, Antonio Brown, or Emmanuel Sanders. I would go, I'm assuming it's Antonio Brown. I would go with Manny and Antonio Brown there. Melvin Gordon or Emmanuel Sanders. Let's go Manny. Tannehill, Darnold, or Heineke. I would go with Darnold there. Full PPR. Miles Sanders, the backup. League mate wants me to trade Mike Williams for Robert Woods and Chuba Hubbard. Make this trade or hold off. I would hold Mike Williams there. I think it's too good of a role. I know you're in a tough spot, but it sounds like McCaffrey might have a chance to play next week. Antonio Brown or Miles Sanders? I would go with Antonio Brown there. Zach Moss or Chase Edmonds? Moss by a smidge. Lamar, already went through that one. Henderson, Moss or Waddle, I would go with Moss there. Pick one at wide receiver in non-PPR, Manny, Reg, or Parker. Let's go with Manny. Mike Davis or Trey Sermon have PPR. Trey Sermon there. Darnold Tannehill, let's go with Darnold. This is a different person asking this, Russell Wilson or Jalen Hurts. We decided on Russell Wilson there. Tony Pollard or Michael Carter, Pollard. DeAndre Swift or Darrell Henderson, Swift by a pretty decent amount there. I like Swift quite a bit. Pick two in PPR, Galladay, Pittman, or Edmonds. We are going with Pittman, and we are going with Edmonds there. Full PPR, Rondale Moore, Sammy Watkins, Cameron Brate, or Ronald Jones. I'd go with Sammy by a bit. I think that Rondale Moore is at least interesting in the way that game could go, but I would go with Sammy by a bit just because the role is steadier. Russell Wilson or Justin Herbert. It's a good one. I think that one's pretty tight. I would go with Russ personally, but it's very, very close. If you're worried about Lockett, given that he was banged up, you have the leeway to go with Herbert, but I'd probably lean towards Russ there personally. In full PPR, pick two, Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay, or Antonio Brown. I would go with Antonio Brown and Allen Robinson. Half PPR, Tyler Lockett or Jonathan Taylor. Let's go with Tyler Lockett. Pollard or Michelle? Give me Pollard there. Josh Allen or Tom Brady? I want Josh Allen there. They might not be on the gas for all 4 quarters, but for a season long, that's okay. Antonio Brown or Miles Sanders? Let's go with Antonio Brown. Start 2 in full PPR. Allen Robinson, Hunt, Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, and Chase Edmonds. Let's go with Manny, and let's go with Antonio Brown. Pick one in full PPR. Corey Davis, Michael Pittman, or Darrell Henderson, Corey Davis. Hunt or Woods? I would go with Woods by a smidge. Sermon or Patterson? Need a ceiling play. If you want ceiling, I think that the 49ers offense is the best access to a ceiling. So I'll go with Sermon there despite the concerns. Woods or Hunt? I am leaning towards Woods there. PPR, tight end premium, Sermon, Fant, Callaway, or Edwards. I would still probably go with Sermon in the situation, but Fant is at least interesting for sure. Okay, let's go to Robert Woods or Devontae Smith. I would go Woods given the offense. Need to replace Jones in full PPR. Who would you choose between these three for a flex? Josh Jacobs, Cole Beasley, or Christian Kirk? If you're choosing just one, I would go with Cole Beasley because he should get enough work to justify that. Top 2 in PPR. I scroll past the question here. Let's get back to the question if we can find it. We are still scrolling. All right, there we go. Okay, Chris Carson, David Montgomery, Leonard Fournette, or Mark Andrews. I would go with David Montgomery, and I would go with Chris Carson. Zach Moss versus Odell in full PPR. Give me Odell. Down big. Miles Sanders and Joe Mixon as the running backs. Pick 2, Devontae Smith, Brandon Ayuk, Mike Williams, Justin Jefferson. Mike Williams and Justin Jefferson by a mile there. Javonte or Jamal? Javonte. Start 2 in full PPR. Ayuk, Corey Davis, Rondale Moore, Zach Pascal, Devontae Smith, Cortland Sutton. Let me go with Cortland Sutton and Corey Davis of those options. Michael Pittman or Chase Edmonds? Pittman. Let's go with Antonio Gibson versus Deebo Samuel in full PPR. I would go Deebo there. Allen Robinson, Corey Davis, or Gaskin in half PPR. Let's go with Corey Davis there. Melvin Gordon or Manny? Give me Manny. Robert Woods, Christian Kirk, or Jacoby Myers? Let's go with Woods there. Antonio Brown or Miles Sanders? I think I had mentioned that one before, but let's go with Antonio Brown. Is this all Facebook right now? No, you can go anywhere wherever you want. Manny, Devontae Smith, or Cordero Patterson or Dawson Knox. Picks 1. I would go with Emmanuel Sanders there. Waddell or Melvin Gordon. Let's go with Jalen Waddell. Pick 1 between Michael Pittman, Deontay, or Woods in full PPR. I think I'd be leaning towards Michael Pittman there. Garoppolo or Fields? I would go Fields. Garoppolo could lose some high leverage work to Trey Lance. Let's go with Fields there. Carr or Lamar? I would go with Lamar there. I know the Vegas or the bookmaker numbers may skew towards Carr, but it's Lamar. I can't bench Lamar for anyone. Half PPR, Antonio Brown, Kareem Hunt, or Myles Gaskin in the flex. Let's go with Antonio Brown there. Conklin or Higbee in half PPR. Let's go with Tyler Higbee, playing a lot of snaps in a good team. I don't mind Conklin, but I think that Higbee's the better option in those two. Marquise Brown or Deontay Johnson. Give me Deontay there. Alameda Zaccheaus or Sammy Watkins. Slamming Sammy Watkins. Antonio Brown or Miles Sanders. Antonio Brown. Non-PPR, Rager or Sanders. Sanders for sure. Need to in full PPR, Tim Patrick, big shot Bobby Trees, Jacoby Myers, Robbie Anderson, already starting DJ Moore. I would still go, let's go with Robert Woods first, and let's go with Robbie over Patrick by a bit, just because that game is better. In PPR, pick 2 between Javonte Williams, Peyton Barber, Trey Sermon, or Jamal Williams. I would go with Javonte and Trey Sermon, given the question marks around Josh Jacobs. Miles Sanders, Zach Moss, and have PPR. I actually might go Zach Moss there. Feel like I will. Let's go with Zach Moss. Mike Davis or Henderson, full PPR flex. Not really into Mike Davis this week, but I think given the uncertainty around what Henderson's role will be, we'll go with Mike Davis there. Tannehill over Fields or Daniel Jones. I would play him over Daniel Jones. I'm not into Tanny overall, but I am less into Daniel Jones. Baker or Fields. There I might go Baker just because I know it's a better match of Fields this week, but Baker's in a good spot as well. So I would go Baker. It's not disliking Fields. It's more so just liking Baker a lot. PPR pick 2, Amari Cooper, Lockett, or Waddell. Let's go with Amari and Lockett there. Baker, Heineke, or Fields. Give me Baker. Full PPR, Nelson Aguilar, Kenny Gainwell, or Westbrook Akine. I would go with Nelson Aguilar there. Antonio Brown or Miles. I've answered that one like 16 times. All right. Miles Sanders, Devontae Smith, Cordell Patterson, or Dawson Knox. Pick 1. We are going with Devontae there. Standard, pick 2 out of 3. DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Williams, Tyler Lockett. Woof. Those are good options. I'd actually sit DeAndre Hopkins there. Let's do it. Let's sit DeAndre Hopkins. Jacoby Myers and Devontae Smith. Need 2 in full PPR. Tim Patrick, Robert Woods. Already mentioned that one. Okay. Tyler Lockett, Corey Davis, or Kenny Galladay. Need 2. Let's sit Galladay there for sure. PPR, Pollard or Carter. Let's go with Tony Pollard. Let's go with Shane. Trade Mike Williams for Robert Woods and Chuba Hubbard. Oh, already answered that one. Keeping Mike Williams there. Antonio Brown or Waddell. Let's go with Antonio Brown there. Dawson Knox or Dallas Goedert. I would go Dawson Knox. Kenny Galladay or Chase Edmonds. I want Chase Edmonds there. Antonio Gibson or Kareem Hunt. Let's go with Antonio Gibson. Tyler Conklin or Dawson Knox in full PPR. Pretty good question. I would lean towards Dawson Knox given the way that offense should operate for today, but I don't mind either, to be fully honest with you. Antonio Brown or Trey Sermon. Let's go with Antonio Brown there. Jalen Reagor or Emmanuel Sanders. Manny by a pretty decent margin. Darrell Henderson, Michael Pittman, or Jamal Williams. I will go with Michael Pittman there. Robert Woods or Waddell. I would go with Woods there. Baltimore or a Green Bay defense. I would go Green Bay, given Big Ben's struggles so far this year. Sermon or Tyson Williams. There I would go with Trey Sermon. I think that I feel good enough about him to go with him there. Standard pick 2 to 1 running back and 1 flex. Okay, so Myles Gaskin, Emmanuel Sanders, Lazard, and Terrace Marshall. Let's go with Gaskin and Manny there. Allen Robinson, Corey Davis, or Manny Sanders and wide receiver. Let's go with Corey Davis there. I just mentioned that one. Trey Sermon, Peyton Barber, or Juju Smith-Schuster. Let's go with... I'm going to go with Trey Sermon over Juju there. Full PPR bench 1 between Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, or Manny. I think that because Pollard and Manny have roles and I have concerns around Jacobs playing, I'd be okay going with those guys. In half PPR, would you go Michael Pittman or Corey Davis? I would go Corey Davis by a bit. Tiny bit. Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Pittman, or Antonio Brown. There, I would go. If it's just one, I'd probably go Manny, but none of those options are bad. Drop Jonnu Smith or Cameron Brate or Anthony Firkser. I don't think Brate will do a whole lot even with Gronk out, so I'd be okay dropping him there. Firkser's not the best either. So honestly, I could drop both Brate and Firkser there. Terry McLaurin or Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, although I don't mind McLaurin this week. Odell or Lockett. I'll go Odell with Lockett being banged up. Dak or Derek Carr, got to go Dak there. Really tough matchup, but he's just operating at like another level right now. Dak is too good for me to not go with. DJ Moore or Thielen rest of the season. DJ Moore's role is amazing. So give me DJ Moore there. All right. PPR, Beasley or Odell? Give me Odell there for sure. Waddell or Sermon? I would go with Sermon there. Pick two between Mike Davis, Darrell Henderson, or Trey Sermon. I would go with Trey Sermon, and then I would go with Darrell Henderson for Mike Davis. Let's get to one more here from Jeremy. Need full PPR, need one. Rondale Moore, Sammy Watkins, Cameron Braid, or Rojo. I would go Sammy Watkins there. That is all the time that I have for today, but do not worry. We have a lot more coming up here on this channel for today because we have Justin Henry and Jessica Gridiron hanging out in the green room, ready to talk to you about some betting for week number 4. They're here to let you know the best bets for week number 4. So let's bring Jessica and Justin on now to get you set for today's slated games. Jessica, Justin, welcome to you both. How you doing today?
Jay, my man, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm tired of talking, so I'm ready to hand off to you. But lineups all set, all good to go, Justin?
Absolutely, man. Thank you. Saw a ton of start and sit stuff, man. Jessica, excited to talk about this week 4. Seems like there's a lot of question marks. Obviously, this is kind of closing up that first quarter of the season. We got some division games on the schedule, some revenge games on the schedule. Let's dive into it. Talk a little bit about some of these early games. How are you feeling overall about week 4? Just kind of as a status, like, obviously, we've seen some top teams not have the records that we thought. We've seen some bottom-tier teams we thought were going to be bottom-tier teams kind of shoot up the rankings. What's been your overall feeling of the first quarter of the season so far?
Overall, it's feeling good. I have a lot of surprises. The season has been fun. There's been a lot of teams that I were expecting to be a lot better, and a lot of teams, just like you said, that are doing a lot worse. So that I was early on betting on. However, I feel like I kind of switched up my whole plan on how I go into betting now. I've added in some new tricks and things like that. I got my edge here, and that's why I'm feeling good going into week 4 on what I see, as some wins.
Good. Okay, well, let's get into a couple games. Obviously, if you have start-sit questions, feel free to throw them in the comments. We'll get to them as we can, but I want to go game by game before we get to some of those questions, just to see, kind of how you're feeling about some things. One of the ones I want to start off with is a division game, Detroit versus Chicago. So obviously, both of these teams have been kind of struggling out the gate. We've seen life out of the Detroit Lions, and then we've seen obviously the quarterback situation there in Chicago. With Justin Fields starting this week, the Bears are favored by 3 points right now. What's your overall thoughts on this game, and how would you attack it?
Yeah, when it comes to this game, I like the Bears. I like it at -3. And if you're thinking about it over or under 2, I also like the over 41.5. Justin Fields, yeah, his performance last week was not great. We all know that. But in my opinion, I feel like that has a lot to do with Matt Nagy and the game plan. I feel like that was a lot of Andy Dalton's that they were using, a lot of his benefits. But in reality, Justin Fields wasn't ready. He's going to be ready this week. He's also was going up against a tough defense against the Browns. The Lions defense is terrible. So he's going to have a nice bounce back game. And I also feel like they're going to be able to use the run game as well, which will be able to burn the clock. And, Goff, he looks all right, but I feel like this is a great bounce back game for the Bears. That's why I like it.
Yeah, and obviously being at home with that defense that they have, they're going to give Detroit all they can handle. I am a little concerned about Justin Fields. I get a lot of fantasy questions about Justin Fields and should I start him? And everybody sees the rushing upside, but I am concerned. He kind of gives me that Zach Wilson vibe, is that game by game, you don't know what to expect. How do you feel, obviously, with the coaching situation? We've heard all week about Matt Nagy and how problematic the scheme has been. What are your thoughts on Justin Fields? You think he's going to step up and perform at the level needed to win and cover?
I do. I feel like he's going to be able to make plays this week. He can scramble, and it's just the perfect. I know he just looked, of course, he looked so bad last week. And in all honesty, what is there nothing more than a player to have a bad performance and be able to bounce back and, look a lot better? And again, the Browns defense is tough. He's going up against the Lions defense where especially their secondary, it's weak. So he's going to be able to make some plays. I feel like he definitely will be able to handle it.
A lot of fantasy owners are concerned about Allen Robinson, so might be a good idea to get him in at the flex position if possible. Another early game that I have my eye on, and I'm not sure if you do or not, this New York Giants and Saints game. The Saints are 7-point favorites against the Giants, and obviously we've seen Jameis have that hot start, 5 touchdowns, and they've kind of been dialed back. Even with the win last week, we haven't seen this passing attack open up like we thought we would, with Jameis kind of throwing the deep ball a little more often. And this Giants team is really banged up with the receiving core. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this is actually one of my best bets this week. And my favorite part of this game is I like the over 41.5 points. It's because, yeah, I know the Saints have been struggling. However, this is their first home game. They're, we know Sean Payton loves to put on a show when it comes to being home, and just he's going to have that game plan. They're going to get an early lead, and I feel like say 14-0, 14-3 to start, and it's just going to be nothing but catch up for the Giants from there. And they're going to have to try and make plays and put some points on the board. But overall, when you do that, then Danny Dimes is going to be able to put them in good field position, and they're going to be able to put points on the board. I see a pick six, things like that happening. That's why I like this game, and I like the over.
Absolutely agree with you 100% on there. I really like the setup for the Saints against the Giants. This defense obviously is still underrated. This is one of the top half of the league in defenses. And I can see a real bounce back game from Jameis. I think the last 2 weeks they've been without their coaching staff, which has gone underrated. A lot of people haven't talked about the impact of losing 7 coaches in a game or 5 coaches in a game. But that has a big impact on game script, especially on the road. So 100% love the take, especially with the over. I think that the Saints bounce back. If you're looking at fantasy, anytime scorer, I really like Marquez Callaway again. I think that they're going to get the ball rolling, try to get Jameis rolling. To me, he has a lot of upside in that matchup. Moving on to a different type of matchup, the Dallas Cowboys versus the Carolina Panthers. Dallas is favored by 4.5 in this game. Jessica, tell me a little bit about your thoughts, because we saw this Dallas Cowboys team and their identity is changing a little bit from that air-it-out offense last year to a little bit more ground and pound with defense this year against a tough Carolina team.
Yeah, they are. This was another kind of a surprised team, especially defensively. They're looking a lot better. However, if I had to pick a side on this game, I actually like the Panthers. I like the dogs in this one. We've seen Sam Darnold is playing extremely well. He clearly, Adam Gase was the issue, as we're starting to see. And but as far as the Panthers go, his weapons, he has DJ Moore, Rob Anderson, their run game is still good. And even with Christian McCaffrey out right now. And yeah, Dak, he looks good. He's putting the numbers up, and they got their 2-headed monster game, run game as well. But overall, that defense, that rush defense is number one. So right now, their defense looks good. I like it. I like the dogs, and I feel like Sam Darnold will be able to play extremely well.
Yeah, I kind of like, this is a tough one for me. And fantasy-wise, I look at the matchup and I'm like, okay, it's full of powerhouse players. You got DJ Moore, you got obviously CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, Dak Prescott, even Zeke and Pollard are some bigger names out there. Chuba Hubbard is making kind of his starter debut today, obviously with McCaffrey out. But for me, I'm looking at this matchup and I look at the defenses. To me, that's really obviously you see a lot of explosion there that's possible. But I see Trayvon Diggs matching up against DJ Moore possibly. I see this Dallas defense getting a lot of pressure on Carolina, and I also see Carolina making it tough for the Dallas Cowboys. For me, I tend to lean under on this 51.5. What are your thoughts on the over/under for this game?
I actually kind of like the over.
Okay.
But just again, because I know it's going to be difficult defensively, yes, but Dak, man, I mean, he's on fire right now. He has a 77.5 completion percentage. He already has 6 touchdowns on the season. Even though, yeah, they have a strong run game, I still feel like he's going to be putting the ball in the air and making big plays, especially because when it comes to the Panthers defense, they did lose cornerback J.C. Horn. So that is going to be an advantage for them. And so I feel like that will be able to benefit the Cowboys this week or today.
Love it, love it, love it. Well, obviously those are some more difficult games. But there's a spread out there that's pretty high right now. As of this morning, 18.5 points for the Buffalo Bills to cover against the Houston Texans. Obviously, with Davis Mills starting and Josh Allen getting rolling last week, the Bills are heavy favorites against the Texans at home. What are your thoughts on this game, Jessica, as this line has been increasing steadily throughout the week?
Yeah, I actually like the dogs in this one. I like the Texans. I just feel like I don't know if I'll place a bet, but I just think 8, what'd you say? It's now 18 and a half. Last I looked, it was 17 and a half. It's now 18 and a half. Yeah, I just feel like that is just way too many points, even for Buffalo. Josh Allen, yes, he's playing good. They're back. He's looking dangerous. Their defense is also looking good too, but the Texans defense is actually stepping up. They sacked Sam Darnold 3 times last week. When it comes to the rush defense, they've only allowed 3.5 yards per carry. So I know they have a backup quarterback, but you all saw who his favorite target is, Brandon Cooks. And 18 and a half points, that's just way too many points. That's a lot. So I'll take the dogs if I was to pick a side.
Yeah, it's a lot of points to give. And we've seen, I mean, obviously last year there was a couple that lost. I think the Rams last year were like 17 and a half and lost. So we've seen that side of it too. But for fantasy purposes, I really like Zach Moss in this game. I see the Bills getting up by a few scores. Even if it's 14, it's tough to cover that 18 and a half. But if it's 21 or 14, I can see them leaning on the run game and kind of getting power football back. So Singletary and Zach Moss. I would definitely Zach Moss in your lineups. That has a good anytime score feel to it as well. Zach Moss there. I want to also dive into one of the later games. Now, this Rams and Cardinals game, division game, featuring 2 of the heavy hitters in the NFL right now. A lot of offense we've seen out of both of these teams, and both of them look really good right now. The Rams are at home, favored by 3.5. Are you leaning one way more than the other in this one?
I can't really pick a side on this one, but I like the under 52 and a half points if I was to make a play. Because, yes, this is 2 powerhouse offenses. However, this is also some really good defenses. And that's what it comes to when looking at this game. You have the Rams defense, which is looking really good. You have, of course, Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald. As much as Murray can scramble and he's really good, he's going to really have to watch out for Aaron Donald today. And the Cardinals defense is also solid. So as much as, Matthew Stafford is on fire, I still feel like this is going to be a defense heavy game. And I like the under if I was to pick a side.
Yeah, and it's tough because for fantasy, I love both of these guys. I love both of these teams. I feel like it's full of a lot of options. And we've seen Cooper Kupp kind of take this relationship with Matt Stafford to the next level. He looks elite right now with the way he's playing. Kyler Murray and Stafford both are pushing for MVP level conversation. But that over-under is tough for me to pick because as a fantasy fan, I'm like, all right, man, I see a ton of points in this game, but you make a lot of good points. I really do think that these division rivalries are tough too. It's tough for them they know these teams in and out. And so we'll see when it comes to that. Let us know your guys' thoughts in the comments on some of these picks that we have. We'd love to hear your guys' takes. Moving on, obviously, one of the marquee matchups, the Patriots and the Bucs, the return of Tom Brady. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Because obviously Tampa's laying 6.5 on this one. This is a game that a lot of people are looking at the Patriots like they're at home. Belichick wants to win this one, but we know Tom Brady. They're missing Gronk, obviously, but we know how Tom Brady is in these revenge games. Give me your take on this Bucs-Patriots matchup Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, so I actually like the Patriots in this one. I saw it +7, but you just said +6.5, right?
Yeah,
Well, my reasoning is because primetime games, always weird things happen. I know that this is like the talk of the town game. I mean, it almost feels like the Super Bowl with how, everyone's going at it of how exciting it is. But as much as it's Brady is going to come in and want to win, I feel like Bill is going to be right there with the game plan. And if there's anyone who knows Brady extremely well, it's Bill, and he's going to cause mistakes. And lastly, the reason why I'm not on the Bucks is everyone and their mom is on the Bucks on
yeah.
this game. That's where all the money is, and I don't feel comfortable with that. So give me the Patriots.
Fade in the public. It's a tough game to pick, and I obviously I like this Pats defense a lot more than people talk about. I think it's an underrated unit. I'm
Exactly.
not
Yes.
sold on the Pats offensively, and so where my concern is, I think they can hold up. I see a lower scoring game than people think,
Hmm.
but I do tend to lean with the 95%, which is a crazy number. I tend to lean on that side, just because to me that 6.5, it seems like the Bucks are leaps and bounds better than this Pats team has shown. Obviously, they're at home in prime time. We know they're prime underdogs in prime time type of theory that's out there. But give me the Bucks in this one. I like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin both, but the return of Antonio Brown. If you're looking for an anytime score, I can see Antonio Brown getting his revenge in this game. There's another a game that I'm having a lot of trouble with, and obviously both of these teams. One of these teams we thought would be Super Bowl contenders. They're struggling. Another team has obviously some issues, and we're trying to figure them out. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Uh, the Chiefs, 7-point favorites on the road in Philly. This game has a weird feel to me. How do you feel about it, Jess?
Yeah, I can agree with you on that. And if I was to make a play on this game, I would take the under 54.5 points. These both teams are 1 and 2, and the Chiefs, they struggle at stopping the run. We know this. We've seen this. And the Eagles, though, as much as their offense is a little shaky right now, when it and especially what we saw last week against Dallas, what did they not do? They didn't use Miles Sanders and run the ball like they did in week 1, where they looked really good. So that's what I feel like they're going to be their game plan going in today. And when you run the ball, you eat up the clock, and you keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. So if they're able to do that, then it's just going to burn the clock, and I see it being more of a low-scoring game, even though Mahomes and company is such a powerhouse offense. Like I said, keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. I see the Chiefs
Are there
probably
any
winning this.
concerns with
Absolutely.
this Chiefs team? Obviously, they started off a little bit slow here, 1-2, and the Eagles obviously don't look great. But it seems like this should be a game where the Chiefs are favored by a lot more, and they aren't. Obviously, we know what to expect out of Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, and this Eagles team doesn't look good. This one kind of shocked me a little bit. I was like, okay, I was thinking somewhere around 8 or 9 points, and to see it under 7 to me was a little shocking. Is this a concern on the Chiefs side, or is this a little bit of recency bias when it comes to betting and just kind of taking that, that the Chiefs are struggling into account?
I think it's just taking in the fact that they're struggling. I mean, look at the line with the Ravens versus Broncos. I thought that line was also, not true. The Ravens as
Yeah,
dogs. I mean, come on, against the Broncos, as much as the Broncos, yes, I know they're
that
3
makes no
0.
sense to me.
Yeah, and the Chiefs, they've just had, in reality, the last 2 weeks. I mean, they lost right at the end. As much as I know that we can clearly see that there's issues, especially on the defensive side. It's just it was just a bad game, a bad loss at the end of the day. And this is going to be a bounce back game for them. I do see it happening.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Baltimore Denver game. Obviously, Lamar was questionable coming into this game, so that might have had something to do with the line. But the Ravens, to me, are clear cut the best team. I get that they're going into Denver. I've seen a couple things out there about the East Coast traveling to West Coast, kind of almost a reverse of what's normally thought as like the West Coast team struggle on the East Coast. I've also seen that on the opposite side. Talk a little bit about this matchup because to me, the Ravens seem like the clear-cut better team. Obviously, Denver is a good team themselves, but the Ravens to me seem like they're getting points as the better team.
Yeah, and this is one of my best bets going into today. I like the Ravens. Yes, I know, like I mentioned, the Broncos, they're 3-0 right now. But you have to remember, who are the three teams that they've beaten the last 3 weeks? The Jets, the Giants, and the Jags. I mean, they did their job. They beat the teams they were supposed to beat. Let's see the Broncos once they start facing elite teams. I want to see them face Mahomes. I want to see them face Herbert, Carr, and then we can talk about how good the Broncos are. They're all in the same division. Somebody's going to have to fall. And as much as I know the Chiefs are in last place right now in that division, which is crazy, but at the same time, I feel like they're going to move their way back up and someone else is going to fall. And I see it possibly being the Broncos, but maybe not. They do have a good defense. That's going to be their edge going into this game. However, the Ravens overall, they're the better team. They have the better offense, especially he's got Bateman coming back. And sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Who's the other one? Who's the other guy?
Bateman is going to have a big impact. I'm pretty sure he's inactive for today, but Bateman coming back is going to help this team for sure.
Exactly, and their run game, everything. It's going to be Boykin. There we go. That's the other. Yeah, he's back, and and their defense is good. It's just they're the better team here, and I know that they're going to be able to win this game.
Yeah, I'm feeling confident I like Baltimore as well. And to me, Denver, obviously they're going to be ground and pound and play defense. So I think it'll be a tough matchup, probably come down to last possession or fourth quarter type of thing. But I would take Baltimore as well. Is there any other game before we get into answering some of these start-sit questions that we have here in the comments? Appreciate you guys throwing the comments our way. We'll try to get to as many as we can here in this last 10 minutes before your matchups. Are there any other leans that we didn't talk about that you have a really strong hunch for, or are strong plays for this week?
I guess just one more that I like is another divisional game is the Raiders versus Chargers. And I know I kind of like the Raiders. I like the Raiders in this game. I like it +3. I'll take it. You have two powerhouse offenses here. I was surprised Raiders actually are surprisingly looking a lot better than I thought, especially defensively. The Chargers are also, Herbert is looking great, obviously, and so is their defense. Their defense is looking good. It is a Monday night game. Weird things happen, like I mentioned, but the main reason I like the Raiders is the Chargers struggle when stopping the run. See if I can talk. And what we saw last week with Peyton Barber, he did a really good job. So I feel like that's going to be their advantage going into this game, and that's why I take the Raiders.
Yeah, to me, this is a tough game too. Obviously, primetime division game. Both teams are all in the same area vicinity, and the Raiders are very confident that their home crowd is going to show up to the game. I liked the Chargers in this one. I didn't feel good about leaning towards the Chargers, but I like the Chargers in this one. I think we've seen the Raiders in prime time, so a lot of, I think that they have a little bit of an edge when it comes to being able to play. They've already been under the lights this season, and we've seen Derek Carr play at an extremely high level this year, so it's tough to fade him, and I didn't really feel good about Herbert until last week's Chiefs game. But to me, I feel like I was leaning towards the Chargers. I don't have a strong lean either way, but when it comes to fantasy, I think that we're going to see a little bit of the run game from the Chargers. I think we'll see a lot of Austin Eckler. I think we'll see them kind of pound this game out to the end. So I want to get into some of these fantasy questions before we get off. Obviously, there's a few minutes left before game time. I want to start down below. Let's see. One of his tight end questions is Dawson Knox or Tyler Higbee. Obviously, Dawson Knox coming in there, with the Bills. I like Dawson Knox as an option over Tyler Higbee. I think that the Cardinals obviously is a tough matchup for Tyler Higbee. What are your thoughts overall on the tight end position going in? Do you have a lean one way or the other?
I like Dawson Knox. I think that'd be a good way to go. But yeah.
Yeah, I like Dawson Knox a lot in this one. Just because I know they're going to get up against the Texans, and obviously there's a high probability there's going to be a lot of points. Give me Dawson Knox. Chuba Hubbard or Jonathan Taylor, this is a good one. And in this one, I'm going to rock with Jonathan Taylor. Obviously, the Colts going up against Miami. I think that's they're going to have to get the running backs involved there. And then with Chuba Hubbard coming in there against Dallas, we talked about it. You're predicting a shootout or a little bit more points there. I like Jonathan Taylor in that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Chuba Hubbard kind of climbs up the rankings for DFS, especially if you get him at a good value.
Yeah, I agree with you on both of those things. I am a Miami fan, but Miami can't stop the run. So Jonathan Taylor is a great pick. And as far as Hubbard I actually picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues. So I would be ecstatic if he does have a good game today.
Well, we're not going to talk about any biases you may have with that pick then. He's on your team. All right, another question that came in. This is a good one. What do you think, man? It says pick 2 full PPR. Godwin, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Debo. Says Tom's my QB. So obviously he has the Brady connection there, but he's thinking about Godwin, Amari Cooper, Deontay Johnson, and Debo Samuel. For me, those options, Amari Cooper to me, obviously against Carolina, I think that's a good play. Deontay Johnson kind of worries me, though, going up against – we didn't talk about this game. I wish we would have. Maybe we can really quick. Green Bay versus the Steelers. Green Bay is 6.5-point favorites up against the Steelers at home. What are your thoughts on this game? Because I got a feeling Deontay Johnson is going to see a lot of Jair Alexander.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, yeah, I like Cooper and Godwin in the choices there. But as far as this Packers-Steeler game, when it comes to a pick, I like the over 46. The Packers, as you can see, are finally clicking. Aaron Jones is looking good. The Steelers defensively are falling apart. So I feel like it's going to be – overall, the Packers are going to have a good run game, as well as Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to play extremely well. The offensive line is solid too. So Ben's clearly hurt, as we saw. And, yeah. The Packers are going to be able to throw.
Strong lean going Green Bay on this one. I think that obviously the Steelers have struggled, and I think they'll continue to struggle. I'm not sure about Big Ben fantasy-wise if you have him as a quarterback, that if he's your QB2, I'd be very concerned that they make a transition at some point. Looks like this is probably the tail end of what's going to be going on with Big Ben. And it looks like the Packers are rocking on full cylinders. All cylinders go. Had that tough opening night, and then obviously since then have found the magic. So they're at home. I like the Packers a lot in this game, and I don't like the Steelers at all. I could see this one getting out of hand very quickly. And let's see, another question we have. Woods, pick 1 full PPR. Woods, Sutton, Zach Moss, Cordero Patterson, and Cole Beasley. These are tough, man, because a lot of these guys have high floors, low ceilings. And we've seen Robert Woods as a player for me that's been tough to gauge. Obviously, with Cooper Kupp kind of taking that wide receiver 1 role for the Rams, you know that the Cardinals are going to be locking in on Cooper Kupp to make sure that he doesn't take them out. What are your thoughts on Robert Woods kind of bouncing back? Out of the options here, he has the most upside. I would probably go with Cortland Sutton out of these picks, though.
Yeah, I like Sutton as well. Robert, I have to agree with everything that you just said, especially because with Cooper Kupp and his love romance he's got going on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with pretty much everything you just said on that one.
Awesome. There's some great options there too. So we talked about Zach Moss earlier in this game. Obviously, Jess thinks that the Texans are going to still be competitive, and they're going to have to run down the ball as well. So the Buffalo Bills are going to have to lean on the ground game. Zach Moss, after they get up big, Zach Moss is going to come in there, get a lot of carries. I like him as an option. Cordell Patterson has caught fire as recently. He's going to be a safe option. I don't see a lot of upside playing the Washington football team, but Cordell Patterson is going to catch some balls out the backfield because Washington defense obviously is a tough defense. And Cole Beasley, I'd probably stay away from. I think this has blowout potential, so I think that there's obviously room for the run game there. Brandon Cooks, Debo Samuel, Adam Thielen, Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans. Start 3. These are always fun because to me it's like you got to go with the guys who you drafted. Obviously, I like Mike Evans a lot in this one in primetime game against New England. Adam Thielen has been rock solid. I think he has to be in your lineup. So it comes down to Brandon Cooks, Debo Samuel, and Ridley. The first one I automatically would get rid of is Debo Samuel in a tough matchup against Seattle. So I'm looking at Calvin Ridley against Washington and Brandon Cooks. And I'm going to go with the target monster. Right now it's Brandon Cooks. I have a little bit of concern about Calvin Ridley in this matchup.
My favorite out of all these is Thielen. I love the Vikings this week to score 30 points, and he is totally clicking. And I'm seeing we're seeing a ton of targets with him, so he's my personal favorite out of all of these going into the going in. I want to keep saying into the weekend, but it's already Sunday.
Yeah, already Sunday. We're running up into the last minute. Let's go one more before we hop off. CEH or Fournette, full PPR, Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Fournette. And I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire in this one. I think he has good potential to even score in this one. I like the matchup against Philly, and I think they have to find some type of balance in this offense. I think CEH is the play here over Fournette even in the primetime game.
I absolutely agree with you on that. Like I said, I feel like the Chiefs will definitely be running the ball in this game, especially getting an early lead. And I feel like he will get a touchdown too. That sounds like a good idea. I like it.
Absolutely. Well, Jess, it's been fun. Thank you for your valuable expertise on this. Make sure you subscribe, like, and follow to FanDuel channel. And that's all signing off. Justin Henry, and we'll talk to you guys next time.
Yeah.